So my word is interstitial, and the spelling is Interstitial. Well, interstitials are things that you have probably seen every single day of your life. Effectively the little bits in between programs, the things that break up programs when they're broadcast on television. So you're watching your TV program, the credits start running and you get that irritating continuity announcer that starts talking over the credits, and the little menu pops up and it's got a BBC One ident on it, and then another one with a BBC Two, and then maybe an iPlayer ident, and they tell you what's on all the different channels. And then you'll probably run into another trailer. If you're on ITV, it'll be some adverts, probably another continuity announcer, and then into the programme again. So it's all those little things that can link you from one programme to the next, tell you what's coming on later, and so on. Well, they're extremely important for broadcasters. At the moment, there's a lot of competition for our attention. And there's lots and lots of different channels that we can watch and lots of different ways that we can watch TV. And all of the traditional broadcasters have seen their audience numbers decline. This is the moment that they've got when they can speak to you. That's not a programme that's them speaking to you. So it's really, really important for them to use this time to speak to you. And they're doing two things. They're trying to tell you something about who they are over and above the programmes that they're showing, so that you think, oh, I want to watch BBC One, I want to watch E4. And the other thing that they're doing is that they're trying to encourage certain journeys for you. Either that you'll stay on the channel you're watching and you'll watch the next thing because the continuity announcer starts going, oh, that sounds really good, or I didn't know that was on now, I really want to watch that. Or they're trying to encourage you to take journeys onto other platforms that they own as opposed to going to their rivals. Or you can press the red button and find out more about this if you're interested in it, or you can go onto our website. You get interstitials used pretty much anywhere where there's broadcast TV, and there are some interesting differences. In a lot of European countries, they have in-vision continuity announcers. So whereas we're used to having this kind of anonymous voice in the UK, in Europe you'll have a person who you'll recognise every day, who you see on screen, who guides you through the evening's viewing. In America, they're very different again, because in America, there's a lot more commercial pressure. You've got these very commercial broadcasters, and a lot of the broadcasters have got rid of the gaps between programs altogether, so that one program finishes and another program starts straight away, which as a Brit watching it is very disorientating. And then they've put all of the interstitial material in the breaks in between the programs, all the promos and trailers, and they're much more persuasive and hard sell than we're used to in the UK. So it's really fast, rapid editing. Watch this, do this, buy this. You can fast forward through them, much as you can fast forward through advertising. So people are becoming quite worried about these things. There is a saying that even if you're fast forwarding through it, you're still seeing it. So you're still sort of recognizing it. But there's also an argument that they become even more important. When you've got lots and lots of channels, it becomes more important for your channel to stand out, to have a personality, to be distinctive. People that work in branding, they argue that you can only really remember somewhere between 5 and 8 different kinds of branded products. So when people are thinking about television channels, they only at ever one time are choosing between sort of 5 and 8, even if they've got access to 200. There's someone I know who creates these kinds of interstitials, and he talks about them as a sip of water between courses. And this is very particular to public service broadcasting, where we have mixed programme schedules. So you might go from a riotous comedy to a hard-hitting documentary to a difficult news piece, and you need to be able to change the tone. So one of the things that interstitials do in the UK is act like that little sip of water between courses to take you from your starter to your robust main to your sweet pudding. Something that gets people very agitated is in-programme pointers, or IPPs as they're called in the industry. And these are basically little banners that pop up normally in the last sort of 3 minutes or so of your programme, telling you what's coming on next. And they can be very annoying. So earlier this year, there was an episode of Doctor Who being broadcast on BBC One, and a little banner popped up with little animated Graham Norton being chased by a Dalek, telling you about the next show that was coming on. And it was right in the middle of this close-up on the doctor giving this very emotive speech, and the BBC received hundreds and thousands of complaints about this. Well, I'm writing a book on branding in television. It looks at the ways in which British and American broadcasters have started to brand their channels and their programmes, and actually themselves as corporations, over the last 30 years because of the rise of channels, increasing competition, the rise of digital, the internet, new platforms for viewing TV. And so as part of that, I've done a chapter that looks at these interstitials and the ways in which they're used to manage this much more complicated landscape for viewing TV. Yeah, it's actually a very, very difficult thing to research because they're not the kinds of things that are actually archived very commonly. In the UK, we're very lucky. We have the British Film Institute, and they have their own archive. And since 1988, they've been archiving whole days of TV. So they've been recording whole days of television. So that means I can go into their archive and I can fast forward through all the very carefully catalogued programmes and look at all the little bits in between. In the US, there aren't any archives like that. There are two places where they have archived some off-air recordings, but not consistent evenings. So I've had to be a bit of an archaeologist and dig around and then piece together different programmes where they might just have the whole evening. But you can imagine, if you're an archivist and you're archiving programmes, where do you break your tape? You put the cut right in the middle of the bit that I want to look at, the interstitials. So it has been quite a challenge.